I used to be skinny as shit. I would be walking through the corridors at school and the older kids would swat me out of their way like I was a cardboard cutout, and I couldn't do anything about it. One of my most painful memories was when a girl that I really liked brutally rejected me because I was too skinny for her. That's when I knew I needed to change. Instead of being this unconfident, invisible person, I had to be someone who commanded respect from everyone. I had to become big. In my quest to get jacked, I made the mistake of trusting lying fitness influencers promising things like
six-pack abs in 10 minutes or top 10 confidence hacks.
And no matter how hard I tried their weird exercises, I didn't get any bigger. It felt like I was lost in a sea of bad advice. But then one day, I saw an older friend of mine walking down the street. He was dressed in a tank top, and I'd never noticed how muscular this guy was. I asked him where he was coming from, and he pointed to a gym across the street. Then he asked me if I'd like to come with him sometime. In that moment, it clicked. I saw the opportunity I'd been waiting for. I couldn't turn down the chance to learn from someone who'd achieved what I wanted. And less than a week later, I found myself in the gym with this guy. He patiently showed me the ropes of each exercise, and it became pretty clear that this wasn't going to be some 10-minute abs, instant results gimmick. If I wanted to see real results, then I'd have to invest lots of time and energy into this. But for the first time, I could see the potential within me as I looked in myself at the mirror and saw my biceps popping. However, the journey was still far from easy. As my muscles got tired and sore, I struggled with motivation. There were days when I really wanted to give up or looked for more shortcuts on YouTube. I began to question if I could really stick to the path my friend had shown me, but I did. 3 years later, and I've gained over 50 pounds. Naturally, not all of that is muscle, but I love the feeling of being heavier and actually having some physical presence. Girls don't call me skinny anymore. Nowadays, they find me attractive and confident, and I'm definitely not getting pushed around anymore. So how did I achieve all of this? By shifting my mindset from cheap, fast results to embracing hard work and consistency. The modern day vices, porn, social media, video games have fried your brain. You want all these desirable things, attractive body, girlfriend, the respect of other guys, but only if you can have them now. And we know that's not gonna happen. And the truth is, that's a good thing. Not everyone can be successful because not everyone is prepared to work for it. Building your dream body is something that can take years, and there's always gonna be people who wanna take the easy route, who get left in the dust by the guys who actually want to improve themselves and stay broke and skinny because of their laziness. Hopefully by now, all the weak-minded people who are destined to stay mediocre have clicked off this video. You're here because you respect yourself. You have dreams and ambitions to be better. You want to be the guy who walks into every situation with confidence, who gets respect and admiration everywhere he goes. For a long time, I knew I wanted to be that guy, but I still struggled with committing to the gym. It was hard work and I knew it. And I kept being tempted by all these clickbait YouTube videos and quick fixes. So what I'm going to do today is confess some of the dumbest excuses that I made that almost stopped me living up to those ambitions. I'm going to go through and debunk each one so you can avoid making the same mistakes. So if you're a skinny guy, stop doing this. Excuse number 1, I don't have time or motivation. Building an aesthetic physique is a lot like painting a beautiful picture. Not some modern art trash, I mean a beautiful Renaissance style painting. There'll be days where you feel like you're not making any progress, and then you discover the right technique and it gets much easier. The point is, that process of painting is full of ups and downs. No one really knows how long it's going to take to finish. But if you push through all of that, the result could be your proudest achievement, a literal masterpiece. Something that earns you the respect of others for the rest of your life. And that metaphor is a great way to explain why motivation is such a lie. It took Michelangelo 4 years to paint the Sistine Chapel, and the challenges he faced are well documented. Having to work at such a great height and lie on his back for hours painting took a great physical toll on his body. In addition to that, he had to balance this commitment with other projects he was working on. But he always kept his goal in mind because he knew he was working on something very special. And he was right, because 500 years later, it's widely known as one of the most celebrated artworks in history. In one of my first ever YouTube videos, I exposed how motivation is never something you can rely on. So many people wait around for motivation to hit them like it's some kind of spirit that possesses you. It's bullshit. Motivation doesn't just hit you and then you magically go off and perform an action. It's actually the opposite. Action is what sparks motivation. The area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex is what controls our motivation and allows us to anticipate the rewards associated with a particular activity. The problem is, if your plan for completing that activity is quite vague or unrealistic, then the prefrontal cortex is not going to be activated enough to allow you to follow through with that action. That's why so many people say they want to go to the gym, but never do. So the best thing you can do is make that plan of action as easy as possible for your brain to understand. That means you need to write down and specify important details like how you're going to get to the gym, when you're going to go, how long you're going to spend there, and going through those steps has made your plan 10 times more manageable and realistic. And hopefully what that's going to do is get you into the gym at least a couple of times. Then the great thing is, as you build familiarity with the gym, as you start to see small progress in areas like strength and muscularity, that's when the real motivation is going to come through, because that positive feedback will open up reward pathways in the brain that make you want to keep coming back. My opinion is that people who say they don't have enough time for the gym usually spend lots of time on bullshit. There are literally people who work full-time careers who still find time to go to the gym 5 days a week. So if you're some little gamer saying you don't have time to go to the gym, sort your shit out, bro. But if you really are short on time, what I recommend is this thing called habit stacking, which is where you integrate a new habit directly before or after an existing habit. So an example of this would be, if you work every day, then join a gym that's close to your place of work and go 45 minutes before or after every single day. That way it doesn't seem like so much of a big deal because you're already going to be close by to the gym anyway. At the end of the day, there's always going to be those times where you just don't feel like working out. And that's where discipline and willpower will have to step in. Sometimes you're just gonna have to force yourself to do it, and there's no quick fix or shortcut for that. But again, just make sure this process is as easy as possible to follow through with, that you've got very clear goals, that you use things like habit stacking. Even if you go and only do one set, that's still a win. Number 2, I have bad genetics. For a long time, this was my go-to excuse. I'm someone who has faster than average metabolism, so when I wasn't seeing the progress I wanted, you better believe I was blaming genetics. There are a lot of guys out there like me who don't put on weight super easily, but they've deluded themselves into thinking they eat so much.
What are you talking about? I had 2 bowls of cereal for breakfast this morning.
All skinny guys who train weights need to track their calories, at least for the first few months when you don't know anything about nutrition. Using an app like MyFitnessPal usually reveals that all the foods you're eating don't actually total at that many calories. And even that knowledge can be very off-putting to a skinny guy, because it feels like you've been eating so much already, and to add any more to that would seem like so much extra work. But you gotta remember, it's not about the quantity of food you eat, especially when you're skinny. You've got to be picking out those calorie-dense foods. Another culprit for my bad genetics was that I wasn't actually training that hard. It's very easy to switch your brain off during something like a set of 10 bicep curls, or just focus on reaching a particular number, instead of considering things like training to failure, progressively overloading the weight, or focusing on mind-muscle connection. The smaller details that we kind of take for granted, but are essential to putting on mass. Going back to people who say they're short on time, I used to spend like 2 hours in the gym going through 10 different exercises, but still not see that much progress. But after I got my nutrition on point and I started actually training with intensity, I could easily get away with doing a 45-minute workout. Bad genetics are always a matter of perspective. Skinny guys might have to eat a lot more to reach their goal physique, but they don't have any trouble staying lean, versus guys with slower metabolisms who put on weight a lot easier, but have a very hard time slimming down after a bulk. Everyone has their own unique challenges on their fitness journey, but one person's challenge is always another person's advantage. Number 3, I don't know how. To me, what this translates as is, I'm a bit nervous. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to look stupid in front of other people. And that's totally understandable for a newcomer in any activity, but it's still a problem that we're going to have to overcome. So let's break it down a bit. People very often associate the trait of perfectionism with good results, but I made a video explaining why that's actually not the case. It's actually a form of insecurity where people don't want to expose that they're capable of making a mistake. It sounds stupid, but it affects some people so much, myself included, that we don't even attempt things because we know we're not going to get it perfect. So to apply that to the gym, a lot of beginners get so caught up in information in trying to figure out the most optimal way to train, perfect workout split. And I was especially susceptible to this because in the past I'd chosen to believe the clickbaiting fitness influencers who I got zero results from. So because of those negative experiences, I became obsessed with trying to get everything right. But the reality is that's never going to happen. Even if you've been going to the gym for 10 years, as a beginner, you're probably going to get a lot of it wrong. But that's completely fine. The first month of gym should just be about learning, trying all the equipment, getting comfortable in that environment, learning proper form and technique. You don't need the perfect plan or workout split, you just need to go consistently. Because even years into someone's fitness journey, consistency in training frequency is still the most important thing. But what if it's the fact that you're worried about entering this intimidating environment, filled with big guys who you all think are staring at you? Other YouTubers would tell you to man up and stop being a pussy. But I'm not going to do that because that's a valid concern, especially if you're someone who's never exercised as a hobby. Of course you're going to be nervous. If you're stepping into a room full of jacked guys who all look like they know what they're doing, you're going to feel like an imposter. So to counteract this, you've got to do things that get your confidence up. It could be things like making sure your gym outfit is on point, it could be getting a new haircut, just small quick things to boost your confidence. But what I'd actually recommend instead is for the first 2 months focusing on home workouts and bodyweight exercises. If you're someone who's never really trained before, this is going to get you comfortable with the technicalities of working out. Things like reps, sets, rest time, muscle fatigue and recovery. It's going to give you a foundational level of strength and stability, all of which will help ease your transition into the gym and to weight training. Of course, the best case scenario is to have a more experienced friend to kind of show you the ropes like I did. That's going to save you loads of time, not having to Google every exercise to figure out how to perform it. But I also understand that not everyone is going to have that person in their life, which is why I encourage all of you, friend or no friend, to just go. The gym is like one big community. Maybe you listen to people who said that everyone who lifts is self-centered and judgmental, but I promise you, no one is stopping their workout just to stare at you. And if you do talk to them, 9 times out of 10 they're going to be super friendly and helpful, especially the really scary looking guys who look like they could break you in half. They usually have the best advice on form and how to get the most out of each exercise. All you have to do is ask. At the end of the day, it is totally normal to have excuses, especially if you're new to something. But what's unacceptable is letting them have power over you. I want you to be able to look at your body in a year's time with a sense of pride and achievement and say, I'm glad I didn't listen to those excuses. Stay sharp, stay ahead. I'm out.